Hi, welcome to Beloved Alchemy. It's Angela.
And I'm Deborah.
And I know I've been a couple of days late with the tarot reading this week, but I've been waiting for my moment. Okay, so what do we need to know this week? Okay, so we've got the cards all laid out. Don't know if you want to start off.
No, you can start. I was still thinking. I'm assessing.
Well, the first off the card that came out for me was the Ace of Cups. And to me, Eight of Cups is all about walking away, leaving behind, leaving behind something that maybe doesn't serve you anymore, but it's been an emotional battle, and now you're having to walk away from it. That's what it feels like this week. And this seems to be, yeah, a very emotional thing to be doing, because we've got the Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups is the emotional, I call the emotional agony aunt. It could be somebody in your life who is, you know, somebody that you go to that does sort of represent someone who you can actually have like a shoulder to cry on. And it is, yeah, it's a lot of cup energy in my cards, a lot of emotional reading. But it is all about beginning of the week anyway, letting go and moving on. But moving on here. I don't mean physically, I mean like mentally and emotionally. Do you kind of get that in your yours?
Well, I'm looking. First of all, I'm looking at the Fool. That was the first card that well, that's the card I pulled for where this reading is coming from. Like, this is the immediate past, maybe last week for us, and that's a card of. Well, I see it as it's been something of a carefree week for you. You've stepped out and you've perhaps done things you haven't done before. You've intuited things and got on with it. And now this week, you're perhaps not feeling quite as carefree as you did before, but feeling a little bit not quite in the knowing as you were before, in the knowing of what you're wanting to do this week or how it's going to go, and perhaps looking back a little at how things have been, and wishing that they were going to be like that. And yet, I see the week as being something of a, well, I'm seeing this card, the King of Swords. It's probably not the official way of reading it, but I'm seeing it as a bit of a kind of cutting through the week, cutting through that kind of hazy and nebulous, not knowing which way I'm going kind of week.
I suppose that kind of does go with the Eight of Cups in a way.
Yeah, that was the walking away from,
it was the
wasn't
walking
it?
away, the cutting out of the things that you don't need, and leaving those behind. I suppose the Fool in a way, kind of at the beginning of the week, or where we've come from, that's like a new beginning as well. Like the Fool is like the first card of the tarot.
That's right.
Then we've got a bit later on in the week, I'm going to hold this up together, the Four of Cups and the Devil. Four of Cups is, it's about almost, it feels like it's like you're not wanting to listen in a way, not wanting to go with the flow. Not, you know, it's almost like you're trying to hang on a bit to what you don't need. That makes sense for you?
Yeah, it does, because the card I'm looking at here as what I see as the outcome card of the week is the Nine of Swords, and I'm seeing this, I feel this card as a, oh come on, cut out all that stinking thinking stinking thinking that's going on in your head all the time, all this rattling around in there, and I did pull two of the cards along to go along with that, the Eight of Swords, where you're feeling like you're bound up with all this stinking thinking, all the words going around in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, like I say, we've got the devil energy that goes with that. Things that it can be a bit of a card for addiction, not necessarily physical addiction, but an addiction to all this mental stuff going on in your head.
Well, I feel that there's people out there, you know, the collective, some of you out there are feeling this. There's so much going on in the head, and really, you know, you've got to control what's going on in your head. It's time to say, you know, I'm not thinking that anymore. Divert the thinking. Go on to something that really helps you. And the other card I pulled to go with the Nine of Swords is the Five of Cups, which that card is talking about. You're only seeing the let's say the rottenness in your life. Here's this guy. He's got 3 spilt cups here, and he's got his back to the 2 full cups, where, you know, there's joy, there's laughter, everything's okay with the 2 cups. He's not even seeing that, because his head is in all this stinking thinking, maybe feeling sorry for himself, I don't know. Maybe there's just been some real shitty stuff going on in his life, I don't know. But I think for me this is what it's saying. It's saying pull back from all this thinking going on in your head that's ruling you. It's ruling you. Turn yourself around into some better feeling thoughts. Have a far better week. Does that go along with the devil card?
Oh,
there?
Definitely. I mean, I was just looking at the next card out as well. I have Page of Swords here, and for me, this is all about I don't want to say immature thinking. It's more to do with being quite analytical and communicative, but the Page energy is not thinking things through, or coming to a conclusion which doesn't have any maturity with it. It's almost like it can be almost like a very sort of childlike, selfish way of thinking, and again that goes with the devil energy this week. We need to start thinking in a bit more of a grown-up kind of way.
That's right. It's interesting. I just I just turned over the pack, and underneath on the pack is a page of Pentacles. So again, we're talking about that childlike way of thinking. We need to put that away. That's underpinning the whole reading here. Childlike. You've got that page of Swords. Childlike thinking. Come on, get out of it. Let's frame ourselves, as we say in Yorkshire. Let's really pull ourselves out of that stinking thinking and get into a really good frame of good feeling thoughts. Looking at, when we talked about gratitude on one of our videos, didn't we? And looking at what we're grateful for in our life instead of just letting our minds run amok.
I think as well, with it being bonfire week, doesn't it feel like all these bonfires are kind of burning away all that devil energy, all that addictive energy, all that stuff that's going on in your head, going, why is this happening? What's going on? What, all of this that you need to really kind
of burn off the chaff, and get down to the nitty gritty of who you are and what your life is going to be throughout this week. And you can have a far better week, far more joyful, if you cut the thinking that's not helping you. Don't get stuck in that crappy thinking. Jump out of it. You don't need to be there.
And to be honest, it feels like this is temporary, because I've got underneath the pack, I've actually got the Empress.
Oh wow, right.
Which is another sort of like underlying energy of like abundance and
fertile thinking.
Yeah. Because like I said at the beginning of the week, we've got the Ace of Cups, where you are like leaving behind all the stuff that you want to leave behind. And I think with emotions as well, it's because we're so that is us basically. That the emotion part of us is bigger and more important than we all think.
Well, it is, because it's the emotions that drive us, They drive the thinking. When you get into some thinking that's really good for you, that's helping you, and the emotions get in that's what drives the feelings forward. That's what brings in more of the good. Because if we stay in all this kind of stinking, bound up thinking that we've been talking about here, that's the emotion that we've got there of not feeling that good.
So what I suggest is we take all this bonfire energy, all the burning off all the crap, and take that quite literally, that we're burning off all the stuff that we don't need, burning off this devil energy that's not, we don't want it to stay. We don't want that to stick around.
We don't want that. It's not helpful. Doesn't get us through the week in a really good way.
And let the Empress shine through.
Absolutely. Yeah, have some really good fertile thoughts. Loving, hopeful, grateful, joyful thoughts. That's the Empress, isn't it?
It's almost like the devil addiction energy is physically manifested, but the Empress is the underlying, underneath.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to tap into. We need to tap into the emotional side of us and look at that and make that right.
Yeah, let the good emotions come forward and release that, what we're talking about, the devil energy there. Letting the cruddy thinking, let that go to the back. Get rid of that and let that lovely fertile Empress energy come through. Have a joyful week, because the prospect is you can. It's up to you to change the way that you think, the way that you feel, into something better.
I mean, this Five of Cups energy, there is always the two full cups in the background.
Yeah.
It's just a case of changing your perspective.
That's right. It's all about perspective. You can turn around and say, look, I'm not going to think like this anymore. This week I'm going to have some better feeling thoughts. Turn around, see the two cups full of good emotion, good joyful stuff. You'll have a far better week. It's a choice. It's about making a choice this week. Choosing to think better, feel better, and so you will. Anything more on that?
We like that.
Yeah.
I think we're as surprised as you are that went really well. That was actually a really good reading. It kind of seemed to fit. Kind of seemed to
they blended well together, didn't they? Well, I hope that helps you this week, and I hope you can decide to put that into practice for yourself. And it would be interesting, wouldn't it, to, if you want to leave some comments, just let us know how and if that has worked for you this week, because that helps us with our readings, doesn't it?
Oh, it does.
It gives us more confidence to continue and to put these out for you.
Yeah, so leave us a comment, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye for now.